we go. I don't know, I guess we'll see how this goes. Not super thrilled with the mouth. Or the eyes. Not about it. The nose thing. That's bit of an oversight. Last stream hit a record 6 unique viewers. Cool. Alright, so let's go into love curve. Oh, it helps if I'm actually in the. Yeah, okay. So touch Lua. So there's a few things that we want to do with this, right? For one, we want to make and also the screen shader. So here it would be screen.glsl. Right? Because here we have prints. So it should just print hello world. Cool. Perfect. And I also don't really care if anyone sees the gate clone, because that's not something that actually matters. As in, does not matter for me to go out of my way to what do you call it? To go out of my way to hide. Right? It's not like a sensitive thing, you know. In fact, I kind of want people to take a look at it. Right? There's that. I kind of like my. Nah. Whatever. I'll just keep tweaking it until I get it right. So there's a few things that we want. We want the player. We want the I mean, there's. So let's go into. go into drawing. So, yeah, let's save to tungsten. Save as. It's not drawing. Yeah. Color scheme. Into tungsten. Cool. Right. So let's I don't know if I want the ultra clean lines in my doobly-doo, and also the open mouth looks like shit. So I'm gonna have to so the main thing that we want to do, right, is we have the player, right, and the player is going to have a pause, a direction, right, and that is going to be 2D, and then this is probably going to be a 4D. Multi-vector. And the main reason for that is I think there's also going to be like the game state, right? I'm probably going to have a state machine driving the actual game itself to basically like switch the game state, right? Because like during the update there's going to be any updates to things like that, right? So it's just game is a state machine. It's going to take in states, you know, yada yada yada, all that stuff, right? You know, that's going to be like really important stuff, right? So I do need to figure out how to fix the nose on both. It is what it is. I'll figure it out. So the multi-vector is going to be effectively going to be a uh, 40 multi-vector is effectively going to be something along these lines, right? Because we have we have that, and you know that, right? So because like this is either facing up or inversely facing down. It's an oriented. It's an oriented case. But the main thing is that we want to have two of these. I want to have two of these. One for pitch, one for yaw. Now, unfortunately, you cannot yeah, you need the 4 dimensions because you need an even number of dimensions in order to have well-defined rotations and orientations. So that's due to the Harry Ball theorem, right? Like this is a known mathematical thing. So because of that, the 4D multivector is going to have the two-dimensional pitch and the two-dimensional pitch and yaw, right? So we have, something along these lines, and something along these lines, right? Right. So we have that. And that is based off of the, I think this reference angle, right? It's based off of that. And based off of that, right? That's how this is going to work. So, and that's kind of the important thing. And both of these are going to be, I guess I could do that. I could just make them imaginary numbers. Just do the math for imaginary numbers and just call it good. Right. Because if I did that, then I don't have to worry too terribly much about the actual math behind it. Like I like having just the imaginary numbers is just going to be easier. Right? It's going to be faster for me to prototype if I use imaginary numbers. Just like a pair of imaginaries. Because then it just becomes really easy to clamp. There's like a few tricks that you can do in order to do it. And there's some other ones that don't matter. Right. So, like the player update. So the player update. I mean, it also depends on if we want to have it just depends on how complicated I want the updates. Because I can simplify the update sequence. I can have different pages within the update, like I was doing with the Pong. Because the update sequencer is kind of important. So one of the things that could be different. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna caveman it out. Do a little bit of the monolithic. Okay, so do that. So instead of a 2D vector, actually put it into I can go a little better than that. I can go a little better than that. I mean, draw these for shit. Huh. Whatever. Good enough, close enough, I guess. Yeah. So having that, or I can say, let's do this right. Yeah. Complex numbers. Right, a pair of complex numbers. Oh, hello. Yeah, I think I fixed the audio, the sound. Does that sound not so rough and loud and obnoxious? I think I fixed it. Also, how do you like the new face? The nose is kind of tripping me out and I fucking hate it. The mouth looks like shit. The ears are kind of bad too, but yeah. How you doing? How you doing, Arthur? How's the skunker? How is the skunker today? Yeah, let's save that. So we need to have a player. Well, let's just do a player is equal to that, and we know for a fact that this player is going to have a position. which is going to have, you know, an x and a y. Right. The ya is going to have an r is going to be equal to, I mean, the ya should be 1, and the I is going to be 0. Pitch is also going to have an r equals 1 and r equals 0. Right. So yeah. Yeah, what's your new idea? Your stupid new idea? Your self-proclaimed dumb idea. I also completely super forgot to account for the transparency, so. I mean, I could fix that, but I don't really know. Nor do I actually care. I also wonder what it would take to do, I wonder how hard it is to write new plugins for, well, not only for Krita, but also for OBS. Right? Because, like, the color rebalancing, that shit is working really fucking good. Like, it works really good. And I want to do that. Now, these really should be, well, I mean, also this should probably actually be 1.5. Yeah. So we have these. What's the next step? Full screen space. Screen space. Well, the way that it would normally do. Now, actually, let's do this morning. It doesn't really matter that I know that the player is going to have a certain thing. It is far more important to have function of that. So I think this is gonna work. Yep, cool. is gonna be super messy, but it's fine. I feel... I don't know. I don't know. My face look dumb. My face look weird. I don't know. I'll just have to take a look at the documentation that I have, the tutorial books that I have. Yeah. What's your idea? What is the skunker's idea? That's gonna be way more obvious. That's gonna be awesome. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy that. Don't super love that though. I like can't. There's like no way to. What if I do? I mean, I could. Right? I could do sources. Alright, seeing sources. Ooh, that's way better. I like that a lot. Oh, that's so much nicer. Okay, yeah, no, that's way better. Cool, I like that. Because then I can go to like scene sources, scene transition, all that stuff, controls, audio mixer. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Fix that up. Super nice. It's gonna catch my eye a lot better. Two card games against each other. We're following the individual rules of things. Well, to play a card game, and you have to follow the rules of that game while going against people playing other card game stacks. So kind of like the whole checkers versus chess thing. So there's two different ways of doing that, right? One way is you use a bunch of already well-established games, in which case you would have to license those games. Right? Like if you were to make this into a video game, right? You'd have to get the licensing for all that stuff, yada yada yada. Or you can create your own card games, right? And there's like a few games that do similar stuff, right? Another thing that I think would be really interesting is if, is if there was a card game, like a Yu-Gi-Oh style game that used like tarot cards, things like that. I also think it'd be like super cool because you can just buy tarot cards, right? Like you can just get tarot cards, and it would be something that you could present in a video game with like cool nifty animations and a bunch of other stuff with a bunch of like lore and a whole hell of a lot of really interesting things. But if people just want to play the card game, then they could just get a tarot deck, a deck of tarot cards, and play with that. And having the shuffling rules be in there, with it like face up, face down, and like right side up, right side down. And then like what it means if it's like horizontal or flipped over. There's a lot of really cool things that you could do with that. I kind of want to do that now. kind of want to make a card game out of tarot cards. Just because like I feel like that would be a super interesting game that would be absolutely incredible. Alright. Yeah, but like having like a mixed format, just keep in mind that you have to make each of those games, right? And it's just, I don't know, because it's like, how would you mix like Kaijuto and Magic, and I mean that would simplify the actual, that would simplify the overhead, because then you could just look through like, okay, what are the most common like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, right? Like what are the classic Yu-Gi-Oh cards, right? And then just do those, but but legally distinct. Quintessential Yu-Gi-Oh, quintessential Pokemon, especially given the fact that Pokemon's, just like the way that Pokemon works fundamentally is very different from a lot of the other card games, and I think that that's something that a lot of people sleep on. Could even look into like Kaijuto and like the other, like Vanguard, right? Especially given the fact that these card games have very, very different play styles. They have very different just like turn systems, and a lot of things like that, which I think is like really cool. So we have a love.draw. I don't have a way to resize the this doesn't allow for resizing the window. I play Magic. I have 20 life. I play these monsters with 1,000 attack. I mean, it's the only. I mean, it's I think it would be really funny if it's presented like that, but then it's revealed that because in order to have things actually balanced, the attacker applies its like the attacker applies their life system to their opponent, right? So the Magic player, when attacking the Yu-Gi-Oh player, the Yu-Gi-Oh player would have 20 life, right? But when the Yu-Gi-Oh player attacks the Magic player has 8,000, right? Like that's how that would work. Because that's the only way that it would actually make sense, right? Because like it doesn't make sense to have, either that, or unless you come up with some kind of universal win con that is well balanced for all the different card games that you're implementing, which is a very difficult thing to do, right? Because unless everything has the right scaling, or unless Oh. Oh my god. I think it would be, that would be incredible because it would stop, because like, the rules would shift a little bit because um like fusion summons, Xyz summons, special summons, right? Where you have to sacrifice 2 cards in order to summon another card, would still pass through, right? Because it has a cost, right? Because it has a cost. Oh my god, there's so many things you could do. Right. So like it would literally have like the vast majority of Yu-Gi-Oh decks would like stop working, you know, because it would have a cost. Because you would only be able to play cards that have cost. But you also have access to like Mystical Space Typhoon. Right. And like other like trap cards and shit that you already have set that just yeets, you know, spell cards. Because like spell cards would be spell cards, you know, even though I think like monsters are considered spells in Magic the Gathering. There's a lot of like weird technicalities on like how cards are classified in different games. And I think it'd be like really funny how like the whole point of the game is showing, like it would be like really kind of cool if it was like schoolyard gameplay, you know, schoolyard card play and shit like that, right? It would be hilarious, and then it's just like the whole game you end up watching this incredibly complicated game kind of evolve over time, and this genesis of a new game would be really kind of cool. I think like going along that route would be super entertaining, very interesting, you know, things like that. But I mean, it's your idea. I'm just telling you what I think of it. Love dot draw. So we want to have a love dot graphic. Oh yeah, that's right. So we have a window is equal to x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, w is equal to 0, h is equal to 0. Can't attack directly unless the board is clear. Yu-Gi-Oh! And they have smaller deck. Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an interesting one, right? Because yeah, you cannot, because there's no such thing as, well, I mean, but also Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of cards that effectively have trample or pierce or flying, right? Like there's a lot of other things that, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can do that is absent in, that like Magic doesn't quite have an answer for. There's a lot of things in Magic that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have an answer for, right? Because I also think it'd be absolutely fucking hilarious if there's like banter back and forth on like rules lawyering, like a really silly shit, like a winged Karibo, right? A winged Karibo, you know, like the Magic player, you know, swings with a flying, you know, with like a rocker or whatever, like a flying monster, you know, against the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, and the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player's like, well, I have a winged Karibo, and it's like, well, it doesn't say that it has flying. Well, it has wings. It's fucking flying. Like, of course it can fly. Screw you. Right. Things like that would be like super funny. Where it's like this you know, like common sense kind of stuff, and like the whole like deck disparity kind of thing, you know, like saying like, oh, this isn't fair, you know, yada yada yada. And then you have the kid that's like mixing the two decks together, and then what do you do then? And then all hell breaks loose. Like it just becomes an absolute nightmare. There's a lot of what ifs that are very difficult to solve, and I think it'd be like really funny if like the whole game is about, you know, why you don't do these things. You know, it's like the rules of this greater meta, you know, this higher meta game just ends up, you know, evolving and changing and shit. I think that'd be like really cool. So yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like that's the I think that's like the best way of doing it. Right? I think width dot height is equal to love dot window cats area. Yeah. So that builds that, in which case we have the love dot graphics dot rectangle. And then here is 0 0 window dot window right. We have these. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, that would be the, I mean, that's also the most legally sound way of doing it, too. Right? I mean, in like, you've... Yeah. I mean, that too. Right? It's not just, like, the legally sound way of doing it, but it's also, like, the only way that it'll actually function, like, mechanically, you know? So, there's a lot of that, too. So, how do I want to do this? I want to do... I have... This is one of my favorite songs. Of like this whole set, I should say. If I do this move, yeah, this nonsense. Yeah, this is like, what was it, 115 minus 39. Yeah, 76. Oh, that's cool. Magic is actually getting funnier in my head. I mean, everything's a swamp. I mean, I would have named it like Arcana. You can call it Voodoo instead of Magic. Because, like, I think having each one being some kind of joke or reference to what it's supposed to be would be, like, really good. Like, Pokemon would be kind of hard to figure out. I don't know if you'd be able to do Digimon. Hoodoo? I mean, you can make it. I mean, you can name it however the hell you want, you know. Hoodoo the Collective. Right? Like that. Or just Hoodoo. Let's see. I don't know if you'd be able to pull off mixing doing Digimon though, right? Because like Digimon's resource and health system is so different from other games. It'd be really, really difficult to mix that together. I mean, like, same thing with Pokemon, too, honestly. It'd be really difficult to try and mix those in. So, we have... How that load? Okay. So, shader source and size. Shader source. The whole shader source. Shader equals new shader. Yeah, okay. That's how that works. Yeah, because I could also do the node switch. Or some other thing. I don't necessarily need to have. Right? I mean, switch is nice. Having a switch statement is nice. You just need to find something to count mana for it. You always get at least 4. You always have... I think you have like at least 4. Right, but it's a push-pull system. The more you spend, the more your opponent has, right? So, yeah. I mean, Digimon versus Magic the Gathering would be an interesting one. Because that also means that, like, for every mana that the Magic the Gathering player taps, the Digimon player gets a bump in the resource. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it does have a minimum. Like, if there's, like, if you would start your turn with, um, less than a certain amount, it gets bumped up to, like, 4, I think. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is 4. I can't remember. It's been years since I've played. And I don't have my decks anymore, so I don't have any of my cards anymore. I'm really sad about that. But, oh well, it is what it is. Live and you learn. So I have the window. Okay, so let that load. Actually, I should. Yeah. I mean, I should probably. Well, actually. Yeah, there we go. I could do that. So here I can do that. I do have like a shit ton of alt-1 cards. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it would be kind of interesting that if all of the games that you made for it had alt-win cards, had alt-win conditions, and basically what ends up happening is like over the course of the game, the entire concept of like the intended win con is completely destroyed. Right? Because trying to mix like Kaijuto and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and Digimon and Vanguard, all these different card games together in one coherent system, the concept of like life points is completely null and void. And you'd end up having to rely on alt wins. So having like a large-ish set of alt win conditions would be really, really interesting. And that could be like the pull for it, because like at first you'd have the idea of like health and stuff, but the moment that you have like if it's just 2 people that have 2 different games, it's really easy to mix the 2 together, right? But as soon as you have like 3 or 4 people all playing together and all having different games, everything just completely crumbles, right? Yeah, I mean it's just kind of one of those things, like, and you can also make it episodal, right? Like Deltarune was episodal. Um, you know, and Deltarune turned out just fine. Like episodal games are perfectly viable. Like you can just make updates for shit. And just be like, hey, here's the next bit. Have fun. Like you don't need to figure it all out all at once. Let's see here. Window. Yeah, so I'm in load out load. I can do it's the local shader source. Gotcha. Okay, so it's the local shader source is equal to why is my shit so hot? It's at it's at 90 degrees. Okay. Why? Oh, you're just taking forever because I mean, yeah. You could. Hello.filesystem.read. Okay. Filesystem.read. And then this is screen.glsl. I think, yeah, it is screen DLSL. So, yeah, so we have that. I think I can close this now. Oh, no, not quite. Because what I want to do is say screen equal to love dot new shader. Is it love dot graphics dot new shader? Love dot graphics dot new shader. Graphics dot new shader. Shader source. So I have that. Now I can close that one. I can save. So I have the screen. I have that. Now I'm gonna have to. I don't have a way of loading in like a texture, right? I could. I mean, it would be nice if I could just like build an image on the fly and just send it to the graphics card for whatever stupid ass fucking reason. But I feel like that would be a horrific waste of shit, right? Because the texture is just going to be empty. Not going to do anything. All it's going to do is just make my life slightly easier when it's a lot better to just send a couple vectors to the graphics card, right? Yeah. I'm remaking Kern. Is it not updated? Non-day. Should have been updated. Oh no, I think it did. It's just okay. But yeah. No, I'm remaking Kern in Lua. Because fuck it, I want to. Basically, is what it boils down to. I really want to start getting back into the swing of actually being productive and stuff like that. So I don't like the ear floof of my fucking Fox though. I do. It's like one thing that I never really got down was ear floof. Whatever. I'll figure it out one of these days. So I have the screen. And then let's see here. Little shader. Right. Yeah, so it's a Vec 4 effect. Right. Because like I can also I don't know how well Lua, I don't know how well Love can handle I don't know how well it handles things like am I thinking? Structs in GLSL? Like, I don't know if I can send a struct. Alright. I also don't even really remember how to define all that stuff either. Okay. So let's see here. So I could do. Okay, so the screen. Okay, so the screen is going to be. Yeah, a vec4. Sure. Whoops. Yeah, thing. Effect. Color, image, vec2, vec2. Okay. What does it do? Vec4. Vec4. Vec4 image, vec2, vec2. Yeah. In color. Q is TXUV and SXUV or screen location. Vec2. This is going to be, what is it? It is what is it? Okay, so vec2 is going to be the texture, TX, UV, and vec2 S-pod, okay? Oh, I'm actually going to do vec3 call. So vec3 0.0, right? And then return vec4 call. Right. This is going to do literally nothing. Right? Why? ¿Por qué? ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde? Oh, right, because I'm not using it. Okay, duh. helps if I actually say dot graphics dot shader set shader is equal to screen. And then love dot graphics dot set shader. Right. And this should all be black. So I need to have a screen size. Right, I need to create a screen size uniform. I don't think I need this anymore. Right. So I can do uniform uniform screen size is equal to helps if I actually say vec2 screen size, right? So here, what we want to do is we want to say, it's like there's, so writing shaders is very different from writing most programs, right? Writing most programs is like initializing a bunch of data, redefining procedures and all that, and then you just execute through it all, right? That's how most programs fundamentally operate. Shaders are a little bit different. It's a lot more functional. And what I mean by functional is, I mean, programming paradigm wise, right? Much more closer to functional programming, where you predefine a bunch of functions and then you execute through the functions as necessary. And you want to largely like avoid if statements like they're the fucking plague, right? And that's just because of the way that, you know, shaders operate. Branches are huge wastes of GPU cycles. Because a shader is going to, because whenever you have a branch in a shader, both branches run anyway, right? And just the branch that doesn't get the condition just kind of sits there and waits, right? Because everything needs to operate with the same instruction set, with the same set of instructions, right? So you can think of it as like if you have a room full of, like if you have like a room full of students, you know, like 48 students, 6x8 students, right? And you want them to like draw something, one sheet of paper at a time, right? If you had a CPU, you would print out one fat booklet, each page being one singular instruction, and you hand it off to the first student, they do what they do, and then they hand it off to the next one, and to the next one, to the next one, etc. Right? So, and they can like pass it around as necessary. But if you have a class that's a GPU, you have a projector, right? And each slide is one instruction, and the entire class sees that instruction and operate on that instruction simultaneously. right? And then once everyone is done what they're doing, they all signal that they're done with that instruction, and then you move on to the next one, right? That is the fundamental difference between CPUs and GPUs. Shaders and normal programming. So it can be very difficult to think of and operate with shader programs and shaders in general, because you have to kind of separate and think of that separation, right? So that's pretty much how that is. How all that works under the hood, conceptually, right? A GPU is literally very much more complicated than that, right? But conceptually, that is what's happening. So you want to avoid if statements as much as possible, right? Because if you want to do a checkerboard, in CPU, you would pass it to person 1, right? They would, for 1, you can tell everyone to start with a blank canvas with black. You pass it to person 1, right? And then they say, turn your paper into, make your paper white, and then hand it to the person 2 seats over. Lather, rinse, repeat, right? You can just walk through the whole thing like that, and biff bam boom Bob's your uncle. But if you were to do it on the GPU side, you'd say if your seat is even, then turn it red and turn it white, right? If your seat is even, make your seat white. That's one slide. Then the next slide is if your seat is odd, make your paper black. And that's the next slide, right? So for something as simple as a checkerboard, it's fine, right? Because there is, it's whatever. It's so trivial that it's not going to matter. But if it's, something more complicated and you have a lot of these things and very, very deeply nested if statements, then you're going to start running into problems. Right? And optimizations like this are things that, I feel like more and more people should be made aware of, because, they are important. Now more than ever with, price of hardware going up, and so the, hardware capabilities are stale, they're stagnant. You can't just rely on people throwing enough silicon at the problem for it to be solved within a reasonable time anymore, right? You have to be a lot more clever about how you are presenting the problem to begin with, so that the answer is easier to achieve, right? And that's where a lot of simplification comes in. In school, you learned about simplifying the problem. There's a reason why we did that. Because then you can take a very, very complicated problem, sit down and do a bunch of math on it, simplify the problem into its most core, fundamental parts, so that it becomes very easy to solve. So it becomes very easy to actually solve. And a lot of problems can even be just boiled down, you end up starting to find invariances. Things that do not change ever. Or things that are conceptually invariant. Like the size of a screen. Right? I know that the only time that I ever need to change to update the screen size is if I change the screen size. So that's so that's the only time that I actually send the uniform for that, right? Anytime that I change the screen, I update the uniform. you know, things like that. So there's, you know, and then, yeah, things like that. Like external data is always, you only want to update that as necessary, right? When the actual underlying data is changed. You don't necessarily want to just be sending the same information to the graphics card fucking constantly. Not necessary, right? Granted, like the data transfer speeds and all that stuff is like fine. Graphics cards are designed for throughput, so they have a very wide bandwidth for information travel, and like you can get away with a lot, right? You can get away with a lot of entities and a lot of stuff like that being sent to the graphics card and updated every frame and things like that. But for the most part, it's like very difficult. The hardest part is actually having interplay between the graphics card and CPU. So that is the part that's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's also some of the things that I need to keep in mind. I was going to have very compute shader heavy engines. But that might not necessarily be the best way of doing things. I mean, there are certain algorithms that are super fast. If I have like compute shaders and stuff, so that could be a possibility. I don't know, I'll think about it. I don't think Lua has compute shader capabilities. Like Love at least doesn't, right? Because like Love uses GL 2.1, and compute shaders aren't a thing until 3.6, 4.1. And then of course there's Vulkan, which, you know, might not necessarily be like the worst thing. I would like to learn Vulkan. There's a lot of things you can do with Vulkan that you can't do with OpenGL. It just gives you a lot more control over your graphics pipeline and graphics system. Vulkan is really designed for like compute shaders and things like that, so but yeah. So back to this. So if we have the well, one of the things that we could do Alright, one of the things that we could do is we could say so the S position, we want to turn that into a UV. Right, we want to turn it into a screen UV. So vec2 SUV doing that as equal to vec2 say 0.0. Right. Well, let's just say it is equal to spos divided by screen size. Right. SUV minus equals 0.5. Well, I mean, I could do, yeah, equal to SUV minus SUV 0.5 times 2.0. I could do that, right? So that is all of that, and then like I can also do something along the lines of just taking this whole thing, right, and like that, right, and just paste that in here, and then I can do vec2, right, and then I can do that, right, right. Because that's just nicer, right? This is a lot nicer. So let's do call is equal to, well, call dot red green. This. Okay, so that does fuck all. Correct. Because I'm not actually sending the shit to it, right? Screen send nend send. It is screen size, and that is window dot width, window dot height. Right. Screen size, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. And then, so now this is a little bit flippy, derpy, right? I don't like that. So, what I can do is yeah. I also want to do screen size dot x. Right. And then I can say dot y times equals minus 1.0. Right. And then I think that should be what? Interdicing. What K? Oh, right. Okay. So that does that. So that normalizes it that way. And 2.0 times I want the top, because like I want it to be like there's a way to do this, right? Because you can divide by, you can take the because there's like a really clever way of doing this where you like take the where you like take everything and do stuff to it, but times 2.0, whoops, so times screen size dot times equals minus minus screen size dot x divided by dot y. I think that's proper. Okay, and I think that is not correct. It's hitting one way too easily. Okay. Which actually means that it is dot y dot x. Whoops. There we go. That is correct. So this, what this does is it makes it so that my up-down is fine, but my left-right is still matched properly. And this is a 90-degree field of view, pre-standard field of view. Technically speaking, it would be a lot better if I had a different field of view marker. If I could pass in a different field of view. Having FOV as a, accessibility feature is, something that's pretty important. So. Yeah, I can do that, right? So, I have those. So, let's take a look here, right? What's next? What I want to do is I want to have because I can do strokes, right? I can do strokes. I can do strokes. Those are pretty easy to do. But I'm just gonna do, player pause. I'm doing camel casing. Well, not camel casing, snake casing. A lot for some reason. I don't know. I feel like anyone looking at my shit's gonna be like, what the hell is this guy on? What is a naming convention? Never heard of her. I might get up and get some more coffee. It'd be nice to have some more coffee. I would like some more coffee. Coffee is like super tasty to me right now, for some reason.
I need more caffeine. My blood is not enough.
Alright, fine. I guess I'm getting more coffee. I will be right back. completely silent for some fucking. Because the source doesn't have it? It does. I do not understand. I guess maybe it needs to be like that. Oh, no. The sound of my computer fan sounds incredibly awesome. Now that sounds great. Yes, it is what it is. It is what it is. I think. There's something weird going on. I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna have to mess with it at some point. I don't know. It'd be really nice if I had, because like I don't know what it actually sounds like. I mean, I guess I could just do a couple recordings and stuff. I might do that at some point. Speak around, mess with it, see how it sounds or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Because there really needs to be. I don't know. I don't know. So. Yep. So. I have a vet 2. The position. So, given the player's position, what is it that we want? Alright? There's one of the things that we can do. Also, console not being. There's like a weird discrepancy between console for Arch and console for Ubuntu, which is strange because KDE is, I think, in Ubuntu first desktop environment. I also want to look into not using systemd as well. But like no one actually gives a shit, right? Like the whole reason why systemd is a thing, the reason why it's going under hot water is because there's just a field for users, birthday, which I personally actually don't give a shit about. But I've also heard like there's a bunch of other things that's bad about systemd and why you might want to move away from it. So let's see here. screen size. Why is this so full? Anyway, so we have the I think I'm a super dumb. I think I'm a super dumb fuck. Oh, I can't do that while I'm. Okay, never mind. I'll check it later. I think there's like a bunch of things that I could do with it. Right? I could do properties. Yeah, I got the properties. And then the audio track and the subtitle track. Okay. I don't know. I'll have to mess with it another time. I think. I don't know. Because like the music is super quiet now. Quite literally can't hear it, kind of thing. Which I don't like. But I think I don't know. I'll just have to do something about it or something. I don't fucking know. Because I don't understand why it's not doing all of the audio channels that I want. I'll just have to, I guess, at some point. So I have this whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Because there's just a lot that goes into this. This works. I'm sure there's a way that I can make this a lot better, I guess. I don't know. Very strange. Because like I need to like renormalize it and then rescale it. Right. I do like a local normalize and then do a rescaling, which is like fine. So what is it? So I need to be able to find the player's facing direction. Hello, Orc. How's it going? How are you doing? How was your stream? I saw that you were streaming earlier. How did that go? In the form of a 2. And then I think I need to so the smart thing, I mean, like I could make it a because I think if I actually, because like if I want to do this as a pair of complex numbers, I could, instead of interpreting them as I made 360 raycasting light, dope, dungeon room, and started adding animation stuff. Dope, sweet, sweet, sweet. You were doing. Is this the Is this the block pushing game or a different game that you're working on? Is it still the same game that you're working on? I mean, all together. Oh yeah. Oh no. This is a different one. Yeah. I don't think I've seen. I think I've seen you touch Odin like once. I think all the stuff, most of the stuff that I've seen is your C# work. Which I saw that you were saying that you're not too happy about cross-compiling from Linux to Windows with C#, and from what I've seen, there's no real issue. But I don't know. I've only just started picking up C# again, so it seems like it's actually pretty easy to do it. Because like C# is now like open source, and like a lot of people have their hands in it, which is a good thing. I think polluting the waters to dilute Microsoft's influence is a good thing for the language, because Microsoft doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and they never have. Literally every ex-Microsoft employee has been more successful than Microsoft. So, yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so we have the yaw, and then, well, I mean, if I have a yaw, yeah. So let's do a little bit of derivation, shall we? Go back to draw. E. Nice, so Miyachi. Okay, so I have that. Do a little bit of derivation. So we know that the definition of R, I guess A plus B I times C plus D I is equal to AC minus BD plus A B plus BC. Right. So we could do some kind of, yeah, but it's like really hard to do that. Because having an actual like matrix representation kind of fucking sucks. Right? Because like, how would we want to do that? Moving away from Thea's code to Codium, and Odin was the fast transition. Even with your poor knowledge of memory management, Odin requires you to free memory manually, but to make it easy. Yeah. 6.9 million people downloading Linux. See, being good. See, doing good things is insufficient for being good. You must also not do bad, right? The best isn't the best. The best is the least bad, is the least worse, right? Um, like that's just how the market works. That's why Steam is so good. Like there are plenty of problems with Steam. There are a lot of issues with Steam. But they are customer forward, right? They are customer first. And thus they are the least bad in the industry. Why everyone uses it. Right? Because they don't give people, they don't give their customers a reason to leave. Even with reasons to join, other platforms have failed to bring in a market share. And like itch.io is slowly starting to grow because more and more people are and the reason for that is because the AAA scene is such dog shit, right? That people are seeking more and more independent titles. And the indie developers are very aware of itch.io because a lot of us come from doing game jams on itch. And a lot of us don't have the funds to spend $100 every single time we want to put to make the jump and do a very large risky push to get something on Steam, and 9 times out of 10 your game it's not going to go anywhere unless it's completely finished if you release on Steam. There's a huge risk releasing to Steam, but if you have a solid game and it does get traction on Steam, then it's like the best platform to release to, right? That's why I'm very hesitant when I see a lot of people say, oh, you can only get my game on Steam. I'm like, it's not going to work, right? Like, that's not going to succeed. Like, get your shit out on itch first, because if you can make $100 on itch, then that pays for it on Steam, and you have zero cost, right? You have no risk. There is no risk, right? You get it, you make $100 on itch. You polish up your title, right, a little bit more so that the itch version is distinct from the Steam version. You put forth the effort to do like Steam achievements and all that stuff, and syncing the Steam API, all that back end bullshit, right? And then you release on Steam. Because at that point, that whole transition from itch to Steam only should take maybe a month. It should take about, it should take about 160 man hours of labor, right? More or less. And even then, that's like an over-exaggeration. Yeah, Steam takes 30%, but each let you set it to whatever the hell you want. Yeah, like you can, like itch is a platform that is designed for developers. It is the developers platform. Itch is developers first in a way that is not antagonistic, right? It is a platform by developers for developers, which is great if you want to. It's great for works in progress, right? If you are actively developing something, itch is the way to do it. Is the place that you want to put it. The problem with itch is that it's not very good for the players themselves, right? It's not nearly as good for players as Steam is, right? But for developers, itch is phenomenal. But because of that, it's very easy for people to make malware on itch. The actual downloading and playing aspect of things on itch is not very nice, right? So there's a lot of issues there. I'm not saying that there are no malware games on Steam. There are plenty. There are a lot, right? But if you are hit with malware and stuff and you do contact Steam support, actions are made immediately. With itch.io, not quite so much, right? There's a lot more end user risk on itch than there is on Steam, right? And also working with Steam is, yeah. Steam treats developers the way that every other company treats players, right? A lot of banners. What do you mean by that? Definitions. Yeah. Okay. There's like the conjugate and all that stuff. Tell me. Nande. Nani. Uh, 1.6. Leave a text. Okay. Oh, Steam. Gotcha. Yeah. I have a game on Steam that is not a yeah it is unfortunately it's in perpetual limbo. Yeah, Steam requires you to make like it's a fucking ass load. It's a shit ton of banners. Yeah, and icons and all kinds of shit. It's a huge thing. Yeah, no, I had a DMCA situation. I had a copyright clash with a project that I was working on. That even after I resolved it, I was never able to reinstate the game and finish the project, which is unfortunate because I was having a lot of yeah. So I can do this, right? Because this will equal, what is it, like, oh, yeah, AC minus B E, and then this is DB plus DA, and then I guess this is minus AD minus BC, and then it is minus DB plus EA, right? We can swap those and say AC. Right. So want you to... Fucking whatever. This dude. Let's see. Yeah. So this does math out. Alright, so this does actually math out. It is proper, it is accurate, so I can do the same. Yes, I did. I did cheat and figure it out, but I also can't actually be fucked to do it the hard way. I'm gonna save and quit. And then, so this is actually going to be a matrix. And I think it is a mat 4, a mat 2, a mat 2. Right. I can just use, I like NeoVim. NeoVim is really cool. There's a lot of other, like there's NeoVim emulators with like a bunch of like animations and stuff, and there's like a bunch of plugins that you can do with it. I don't have any animations because I stream at 10 frames per second. So, yeah. So, because it takes, I think it takes like 700 milliseconds. I think it takes like 800 milliseconds. I think it takes like 75 milliseconds to render a frame at 480p. So, yeah, I'm not able to go much higher than 10. And I think it's row major. Is it column major? I think it's column major. Right? Yeah, it is column major. So this one is what? It is 1.0, comma 0.0, and then this is 0, comma 1. This is like a transpose and all that stuff. This should, not supported for this version or the enabled extension. Okay. Hold on, let's see if that works. Left bracket, right bracket. Okay, no code generated. I guess I could probably do that. Right? Yeah, there we go. So that works. I could do. How do I want it to be done? I mean, so there's also torque, right? You could also have a torque value because I know what the angle is, right? You can also have a singular vector, So there's there's a bunch of different ways of handling two-dimensional I should just keep this up and just minimize it. No, this is not correct. It's not draw-y. Draw-y. I have too many things named draw. Infinite canvas that I can't run because I have to run it in GL, libgl, always software true. Comes another one. So say we have an axis here, right? And then we have another axis here, right? Now we know that the center, we know that right? We know that, right? So one of the things that we can do is we know that this axis here, right? Is some angle theta, right? But orthogonal to that is going to be this, right? So one of the things that we can do is we can actually say, hey, we know that, right, like this is alpha, right? Or, I mean, negative. You know, this is theta. And then say that the actual thing is that, right? Which means this is off of some angle there, right? This is an angle, which is 90 degrees. We know to be 90 degrees from that. It is orthogonal. And then this is also what is it, like that? Right, row. Or it could be omega, right? This is like an omega angle. This is theta. Theta and omega. And basically all that we need to do is that we can encapsulate omega by saying it is a we take a look at this from the top, right? What we have right, we have we have that, right? So from the top here, we have this is theta, and then we have a thing here, which is omega, right? So one of the things that we can do is we can actually say, hey, let's just encapsulate this angle here, right? This angle here, this angle theta, right? And then we can actually encapsulate, instead of that being, actually encapsulate this being, right? And the angle of that, the length of that is omega, right? Or to be more specific, oh wait, no, that's going to be, it's not super great. Right. Encapsulating that is not super, because you end up having like some really weird artifacts and crap like that, right? Because like it'd be better if we have, is like being able to press the length of it is like important, right? Like it could be, you know, W such that right, W such that you know, 0.5 is equal to, you know, 0.5 maps to minus pi on 2, and then 1.5 maps to pi on. Right. So like you could do that. At which point, you know, and then this can literally just be, you know, W minus 1 is equal to theta. Something along these lines. The actual angle. Right, you could do that. Like that's something that's pretty easy to do. Or you could use like some inversion, like circle inversion, whatever crap. There's a lot of things you can do. Because like the actual length is something important. So like having that angle things, like that's a thing that you can do. Alright. So I could like take the determinant of the magnitude. There's like ways of doing that. Yeah, I think it's the determinant, right? I think the determinant is it giving you. It's like AD minus BC, something like that. Which is that the determinant? It is the determinant. I'm gonna look it up. I think that's like how you're supposed to put it out, right? I think so. Yeah. Determinant of a matrix is AD minus. Yeah, it's AD minus BC. AD minus BC. Yeah, AD minus BC. Yeah, so the determinant, that's the magnitude of the matrix. which is also really cool, right? Yeah, so like there's a bunch of things that I could do there, right? I could like find the length of it and yada yada yada, all that garbo. But that's also like a huge pain in the ass. Well, not necessarily. If I'm doing like rotations and stuff, like that's super easy. Like that is super easy, barely an inconvenience. If I'm just operating on the quote unquote storefront, right? So what I could do is I could say any, yeah, because I could just make it times pi. Right? Like, super easy. I could even make it the halving, pi on 4, negative pi on 4. I mean, I like having the simple shit, because the magnitude is just that times pi, and then that is fed into because there's a lot of things that you could do there. So we could do something like this. This is something that is a possibility that we could get into. I don't know if like the math is going to be worth it. Something to keep in mind, right? Because we can keep that. So now, is that column major or is that row major? Alright. But also like the identity is a thing. The identity matrix. And then you're probably wondering, well, how do you make, how do you find out, like where, like how do you interpret this, right? It's just the first column. Right? It's just the first column, which I think you can do by just saying, that 2.1, right? So one of the things that you can do here is you can say call .rg is equal to where 0, right? That is red. Okay. Oh, but okay, yeah, and then oh shit. Let's do okay. Okay, so it is column. Okay, so it is column. It is column major because if I do 1, it should be. We expect it to be red. Expect this to be red. Okay. And then if this is O1 here, I am going to have to get going here pretty soon, actually. How many people have watching me? I have... Saripod watching. I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, so let's do... Right. Yeah, this is R0. Hold on, and then... So, because it's, what is it? Yeah, it's column major, which I don't like. It just kind of sucks, right? Like, yeah. But, what you can do is... That's gonna be green. Monday? Ah, yeah, Monday. The other name changes to zero. There you go. Right. So, that'll be done. So, we could do a matrix. We could also do a vector. Singular vector. Right? I mean, a singular vector that we just move around is not the worst thing. We can just set the magnitude. Right? Because we're just going to be like multiplying by matrices and shit. Because like we can apply the multiplication rules as necessary, like as needed, on the fly as needed, right? Because it's just like a thing that you can do, right? A bit sad. I kind of wish that I could stream for longer. I mean, technically, there's nothing stopping me from streaming for longer, but I've got Arthur to watch. and support. So, do I want matrix representation or do I want a system? Because like I can do like the two things are kind of independent, right? Sorta. It's kind of like the tangent rule and stuff like that, right? There's also a lot of things that you can do very easily with clamping. You know, clamping the angles and stuff like that. You can also like make it so that it's only up and down and stuff like that, right? So like the forward vector can be always normalized, right? And we just take the screen space UV and then add that forward vector to it. Right. That's also like a change of basis, and it's the screen space UV that is kind of changing things, because what you're effectively doing is just sweeping the screen out from the player point of view into the scene and detecting when it intersects and interacts with the world, right? Within the objects and tiles and stuff within the scene. That's how raycasting functions. And y'all can literally not see what time it is for me. Huzzah. Now you can. Woo. I guess that's one way of doing it, right? I will be fixing up making a few little fixes for my ENG, right? I will be fixing those up and stuff, so I will be doing that between streams. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow in the morning. See you in 10 hours. 9 hours, 9.5 hours. Yeah. So I'm going to be done. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.